Welcome, everyone. You're listening to the Dateable AF podcast because women dating women is wild, wonderful, and occasionally a disaster. I am your host, Dr. Sarah Kyle, a therapist in private practice.
And I'm a co-host, Rachel Howell, a researcher extraordinaire and a single lesbian dater.
Welcome, everyone. You're listening to Dateable AF podcast because women dating women is wild, wonderful, and occasionally a disaster. I am Dr. Sarah Kyle, one of your hosts. I'm also here with
Rachel Howell, your co-host.
So we wanted to tell you guys that on our way in this morning, this is our first episode. We're both excited and maybe a little bit nervous. As we were getting out of the car, it was starting to rain. And Rachel got out of the car and realized that she had left the car running. So
I was worried about my hair and my glasses.
They can't see your hair.
Mamaw.
Yeah, so I have to call her Mamaw because, she forgets things like that sometimes. So we wanted to start by just introducing you guys to the reason that we started this podcast. We have some stories to tell. I am a therapist. I've been in private practice for about 25 years, and I have tons of stories about the dating world. I have also been with my partner for about 18 years, so I've got some stories about being in a relationship, and Rachel has her own experiences with being in the dating bee, being single.
Yes, I am currently in the dating bee. I am single as of about 5.5 years. Have been active in the dating bee for about 4.5 years, having been in a very long-term relationship of 17 years. But I will say this, in reflection, when I met Sarah 30 plus years ago, she actually was in the dating bee.
I was.
And I haven't really looked at history, but as I reflect back, I think maybe you were on the cutting edge of the whole concept of a dating bee.
I feel like I coined the term dating bee.
Yeah, I think you did because you were the only woman I knew that could actually pull off dating multiple women at the same time.
I don't know how successfully I pulled that off, but I did attempt it.
So I'm aspiring to that right now, and I continue to.
I think you're doing a fine job.
Thank you. We'll see. After these episodes, I will either have dates or no dates ever.
Right. Everybody's going to be way too intimidated. It's like Taylor Swift. If you date Rachel, you're going to end up on our podcast.
Tay-tay.
Yeah. Tay-tay. So, you might be famous if you date Rachel, or you might be infamous, depending on how the date goes with you two.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So back to the term dating bee. 30 plus years ago when I was single and was trying to date multiple people, my best friend, Mel, was also single, and we were both out and about, getting around, and one of us coined the term dating bee. We figured it was like a spelling bee or a quilting bee, where you're just, out there in the mix with things. So I think the term has stuck around. We'll hope you will all adopt it as well.
Yes. And we hope you'll follow us because we will actually explore these topics about how to date and not necessarily take the U-Haul immediately.
Yes.
Which will include a lot of transparency and becoming a really excellent communicator. So along with our fun stories, we will also be sharing some pearls of wisdom and experiences that we've had.
Hopefully some things that'll help you in your dating journey, or if you're already in a relationship, it might help you in your relationship journey. So our podcast is geared toward women who date women, but a lot of those things are applicable across the board. So we hope you'll share this podcast with your friends who are women who date women and your friends who are not in that category too.
Well, we're pretty fun.
I think we're really fun, actually.
And we're funny, I think, some of the time. At least we think so.
We think we're hilarious.
And we do know that a lot of the things that we'll discuss will be relevant across all dating arenas.
Yeah.
But as Dr. Kyle said, we are focused on women dating women, and we look forward to all of you following us and learning from our mistakes, learning from our wisdom, and also, as any good lesbian start off, we have to have coming out stories.
Yes, we do.
This is a big part of what we do.
So I would love to start hearing about your coming out story, Rachel, because I know that you have said in your bio on our website that you have been a card-carrying lesbian since 10th grade. So tell me more about how that happened.
It's true. I have been. So I have been a card-carrying lesbian since 10th grade. As you can well imagine, coming out in high school, I don't know that you could really call it coming out. I was kind of hiding about.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely knew that when the time was right, I was ready to come out. And
how'd you figure it out, though? That's the part I'm curious about.
Oh, interesting. Well, a girl kissed me.
What?
Yes. On our dates with our prom dates.
The prom dates were boys, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
Drinking a little beer.
Okay.
Underage.
All right.
Go out to the restroom, and boom, she just lays a kiss on me. And
so
then
your first kiss with a woman was in a bathroom?
No, it was actually in the woods. She leaned me against a tree.
You went to the bathroom in the woods.
She pushed me against a tree.
Wowza. All right.
Yes. Okay. And then it all became crystal clear.
You weren't quite so interested in your prom date after
yes,
that.
absolutely.
Okay.
Became crystal clear. And then I am a sporty spice. And so going to college, playing sports, I knew that the door was going to be wide open for me.
All those lesbians.
All the lesbians.
Sports.
And they were just waiting on me to get there.
Licking their chops, waiting for you to get there.
And it was true.
All right.
Yes. So it was actually wonderful.
Did you date the girl that kissed you in high school? Did y'all continue to see each other after that?
I don't know that we continued to see one another.
But secretively.
Secretively, yes. We were in the band together.
Oh, of course
French
you were.
horn players.
Of course you were.
We played the French horn.
Okay.
And so we went on band trips together.
Yes.
And I got exclusive seating in the back as a sophomore with a senior because she was a senior.
And y'all sat in the back of the band bus?
And she made her boyfriend sit in the other seats and sat with me.
Nothing suspicious about that.
What about you, Dr. Kyle? Let's talk about your coming out.
Well, as I am with many things in my life, I was a little developmentally delayed with this one. I grew up in a super Christian household and was a church-going girl and got married to a man really young. So I got married to my kid's dad when I was 19 years old. And my family all thought that seemed perfectly normal. My friends were mortified that I was doing this so young. And when I got married, it didn't feel quite the way I thought it was going to feel. So what can we add to this situation? I think I should have a baby. So
excellent. That
I
was
did.
A perfect
Yep,
idea.
6 months into my marriage, I got pregnant and had a baby. Then I had 2 more babies.
And they're all beautiful.
They've turned into amazing adults for sure. So I went back to college. I had started college before I got married, and then I went back to college after I had my kids, and I was trying to graduate as quickly as possible, and I needed like an emergency government class to meet my degree requirements, and the only one available at the time I needed it was a class called Feminism and Politics. Yeah, for a little Southern
right
Christian girl, this was a very eye-opening experience. So I started reading all this feminist literature. I'm sure everyone in my class, in retrospect, was a lesbian. I did not know that at the time. But I started reading all these feminist ideas, and I started putting pieces of a puzzle together and realizing that I was, in fact, attracted to women. I went home, talked to my husband about this. He was none too happy.
Oh, but that
but at the time, being the good Christian that I was committed to the marriage, so I did not seek out dating a woman. 5 years after that, probably 4 or 5 years later, my marriage ended for other reasons. And I knew when my marriage to him ended that I was going to start dating women. So I was 29, I believe, when that happened, 28 or 29 years old. Hence the dating bee. So because I had been with the same person for 11 years, we started dating when we were 18 and got divorced, I think, when I was 29. I hadn't had a lot of young adult experience with dating, so I didn't want to jump right into something. So I jumped right into the dating bee.
And I think you took to it like duck to water.
It did come very naturally to me. I will say that my first experience with kissing a woman was, this will date me if any of you have been around Austin for a while. There was a lesbian bar here called Nexus, and it was a country and western bar.
Yes.
And instead of a disco ball, they had a disco saddle. So it was a mirrored spinning disco saddle in the middle of the dance floor, and that was my first experience kissing a woman.
And can we move on to your second experience just for the audience?
Well, what was that?
The trailer.
No, that was her.
It was her?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot. Okay.
She shall remain nameless in case she ends up listening to this podcast. That'd be super awkward. She was a very tiny woman, and she was a horsewoman. Which I was an urban girl, so this was a little outside of my experience. But she drove a very large pickup truck, and I would sit next to her on the bench seat.
Did she put her arm around?
She put her tiny little arm around me, and we would make out at the stoplight. Yeah, so it was quite the experience.
You have come a long way.
I feel like things have gotten a lot better since then.
Seeing as your wife is my BFF.
That's right.
You have come a long way, honey.
That's right. I feel like I'm in a good place now. That is true.
Well, maybe we should introduce our audience to Dateable AF.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dateable AF is the name of our podcast, and Dateable AF is a spinoff of an idea that we came up with, I'd say a year and some change ago. I, as a therapist, kept having clients come into my office that were just wrecked about trying to date. And these were awesome people. These weren't like scrubs who, couldn't meet anyone. These are like attractive, successful people who are good communicators, and they were all on dating apps and just struggling. And I thought there has got to be a better way to do this. So I had this idea of bringing people together in person. I know that's a shocking concept.
Like in real life?
In real
IRL.
life. Yeah. And so my idea was to bring people together and not necessarily be a matchmaker per se, but have events where single people could all meet one another. And maybe they don't find a match there, but they meet someone who knows someone that they might be a match with. So just really getting people back to the idea of socializing in person. And when I originally came up with the idea, and when you came on board, Rachel has been a great asset to this venture as a researcher.
And a dater.
And a dater, that's right. She's our in the field
researcher.
Experimenter. But the idea was I was kind of targeting the audience to people 30 and up, because I figure people in their 20s aren't cynical enough about the apps yet. And I wanted to be all-inclusive. So I wanted to include men and women and gay people and straight people and old people, young people. And what happened was I just realized the scale of that wasn't realistic for me, because in order to bring enough people together so that all of those people could potentially meet someone, that the scale just felt too big. So we got invited to participate in a program at UT Austin at Macomb School of Business called the Small Business
Incubator,
I think.
Yes.
I'm not sure that that's exactly what those initials were, but they suggested that we narrow our audience. And so the natural fit for both of us, because we are both women who date women, the natural fit for us was to eventually narrow our audience down to women who date women. Plus, we thought it would be a lot of fun. And eventually, we will get back to having some events and bringing people together in real life. But this is kind of our first foray into reaching that audience.
Well, when we started and we were meeting with our folks in real life, and we had about 20 folks in our groups, and what came from that, it was a beta test, and the feedback that we got from the men, the women, straight, gay, all over the spectrum, was that what they enjoyed the most was talking to one another and discussing the issues that they were having or the challenges that they were having with dating, and that what they got from one another was great feedback and just somebody that they could bounce ideas off of. And so what I think we are doing with Dateable AF is we're taking the best of that, and we're hoping that we can broaden our audience and then really open the door for good discussion So in this process, we're going to be inviting our listeners to weigh in, to send us information, to
send in your questions.
Yeah, ask us good questions, because in addition to us just sharing our wisdom and just our learnings, we really are going to share ideas about things that you might tweak and change.
The experiences of our listeners are super important to us. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we welcome that kind of interaction. As a therapist, it was so interesting for me because watching our beta testers interact in our original Get Dateable groups, even if their situations were different. So we might have a straight man who was 40 and a gay woman who was 55. They could learn so much from each other's experiences, even though they weren't exactly the same. So we're hoping that our podcast can provide that experience too, that even if you hear someone's experience that may not be exactly like yours, there are little things that you can glean from it.
Absolutely. Yes. And one thing I know a number of things about Dr. Kyle that I will save, and I'll
please
push those.
Keep calling me Dr. Kyle, because you know how much I love that.
That's the first thing I'm going to say about it, is that she really hates it when we call her that, though she actually is a PhD, and her field is relationship therapy. And they're in the order of things that she loves. First, it's her wife, I think, for sure. If you're listening, it's for sure.
For sure. It is you, honey.
Second, potentially could be CrossFit.
This is true.
And then third, and probably very equal to CrossFit, if not more, is her passion and actually her skills to help people reach their best potential. And
I really do love that.
That's your strength, and it's what you do in your work. So we really do look forward to bringing that here.
And I think the other thing that we're really looking forward to bringing here is some of your experiences out there in the dating bee and what's been happening in your dating life. So do you want to maybe give us a little preview of
Expound on that?
of how that's been going for you? Because you did say you've been single now for about 5.5 years or so. And I have been witness to some of your dating experiences. And I know some of them have been really great and others have been a little more challenging.
Well, one thing that does happen is that after I start dating someone, if I take them to meet Sarah and Joe, then I never seem to date them again. I'm trying to leave their house.
I know.
It's a bad omen. I don't know what it is, but
I think it's happened 3 times now. So word to the wise, if you're dating someone new, don't bring them around me, because you're going to end up breaking up. I don't think I was the cause, but maybe.
I don't know. I'm still exploring it myself. I see a pattern, a trend. As a researcher, we look at those things deeply, but nonetheless.
That's right.
So, yes, I've actually been out of a 17-year relationship for almost 6 years.
Okay. Wow, it's been that long.
Yeah, almost 6 years.
Time flies.
And what I will say is that I spent 2 solid years not being in the dating bee.
Yeah,
not
you were
dating. I was
pretty
adamant
resolved
about
to being single.
Yes,
during those years.
And I highly recommend that, because I think that it's extremely important to fully understand yourself and look deeply at what you want to improve, what you would do differently, and then making sure
to know yourself.
Yes. And then to also just be very comfortable being alone, because you will be the best partner to someone if you are really good at being alone and happy with yourself. Yeah. So
I wholeheartedly endorse that. And I think people in general, but I think lesbians in particular, tend to just go from one relationship into another, often with a little overlap. If we're being honest.
More on that
sometimes
later.
There's no break. Yeah, we'll be discussing more about that later. But taking that space is really important, because what ends up happening is, I think, if you start dating someone before you've even broken up with the last person, or immediately after you've broken up with the last person, it's almost like you just transfer everything you were doing in your relationship. You were in a years-long relationship, and now you're starting something new, but you go as deep at the beginning as you were in your last relationship. And I think that that's tough, because then you miss all the fun parts of discovery and getting to know each other and figuring out how much time you want to spend together.
Absolutely. And when I reflected back on my time and being in a relationship, I had been in a relationship from the time I was in graduate school until 6.5 years ago.
Yeah, so like early
Having
20s.
all of them run together.
Yep.
And that...
With or without a little overlap?
That's, well, I don't know if I'm ready to bring that forward, but nonetheless.
We'll get into that in later episodes.
Anyway, as I was saying, I spent 2 years learning what I screwed up in those other situations. And so one is I very much do love my single life.
Yeah.
I have great space for someone to be in that life, but only if they bring something extra.
Yeah.
And I was very intentional when I opened the door to dating again.
Yeah.
And so then, yes, in the last 3.5 years or so, I have dated some fabulous women.
Yes.
And I've not found Mrs. Right yet, but I do.
She's still out there.
I think maybe she's out there.
I think so. Well, in watching you be single, you have created a really rich, full life for yourself. And so there's not something missing that you're out there looking to fill. It's like you have a complete life and you're looking for someone else who also has a complete life so that you guys can enrich that for each other. I heard a saying, I wish I could remember who said this, but it said it takes a very good partner to be better than no partner at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really true.
It is very true. And especially at this age, that is not something that I want to go lightly into because I have curated a very nice life for myself with longtime friends that I love spending a lot of time with, and I like that flexibility.
Yeah.
I also think, as we will talk about this more and as we dive into some of our topics in our other episodes, is that coming to the table, the other person coming to the table also having a rich life.
Yeah.
And that that you know how to fill your time in ways that make you happy, and you're not looking for that other person to give you all of that.
Oh, that's so true.
And so we will explore these topics a bit more. But I have on my dating.
Yes.
Yes. I have had, it has been a learning experience. And at my age, and the women that I date that are close to my age, because I'm not a chicken hawk, I am trying to stay somewhere.
We call that a cougar.
Trying to stay 10 up or 10 down.
I think that's a good rule.
10 up or 10 down. Fudge just a little depending. But nonetheless.
For the right person.
Yes, for the right person. Nonetheless, we did not live in a time when we entered this life of dating women when there was the dating bee, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
And so we'll get more deeply into that topic, but it is very relevant for what we do want to discuss is just women learning to date.
Yeah.
And being good at it and feeling comfortable in it, and then having the skills they need to do it well.
Yes.
Because it can be dicey because women just by nature want to push themselves together quickly.
Yep.
And want to cohabitate. And
I feel that this is such a good segue into
is.
Our first episode, which we'll tell y'all in a little while. But yeah, there is that tendency to just move in right away and really meld your lives together. And often people give up the things that made them interesting in the first place.
Yeah.
I can remember starting to date someone, and I was in a running group, and every Saturday morning I ran with a group of friends around what we used to call Town Lake. It's now Lady Bird Lake. And I started dating someone new, and I was like, oh, I'll skip my run. I want to stay home with you. And so I started skipping my run on Saturdays. And then a few months in, the newness was wearing off the dating relationship, and I was ready to get back to my activities. Well, then the woman I was dating was butthurt that I wanted to get up on Saturday morning and go run with my friends again. And so in retrospect, I wish I hadn't let that go in the first place. I wish I would have just said, hey, I'd love to stay here with you, but I go on a run with my friends every Saturday. So I think, these are things that will come up in future episodes, but keeping the life you had that made you an interesting person in the first place.
Absolutely.
There's a metaphor that says you see this wild animal out in the field and they're very interesting. You can't, you observe them, you're looking at them through binoculars and you could just watch them for hours. And they're so fascinating to you that you capture them and you bring them home and you put them in a cage. And all of a sudden they're not interesting anymore.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we do in our relationships a lot of times. We see this person and they have these quirks and they're interesting and they have these activities and these friends, but then we want to bring them home and keep them all to ourselves and they're no longer themselves and they're no longer interesting to us.
Absolutely. The other piece that's very in line with what you're talking about is, I was telling you about it the other day, the idea of this woman who had had a stroke. Mm-hmm. And was not able to see out of the left side of her brain. And so she was thinking that all she could see was the right side of the room. And it turned into, it's sort of like a parable to falling in love, is that in the beginning, and I'm experiencing this in the women that I'm dating, it's, if we're dating, one is that they really hesitate to want you to date more than one person at a time, even if you bring it forward. So that's very tricky. The other is that the story goes that when this woman eventually learned that she could only see out of the right side. And so what she learned to do was do a complete 360-degree turn so that she could see everything.
Everything that was in the room.
And so the falling in love, you see corner 1 and 2.
Uh-huh.
But when you do the 360, you see corners 3 and 4 and all the crisscrosses. And so the whole idea of dating and the essence of what we're bringing forward here is, like, dating is about getting past, you're trying to see and learn about corners 3 and 4, but not moving before you move in with them.
Absolutely.
Yes. Exactly.
And I think so often we don't. And then you move in, you start learning corners 3 and 4, and then the whole thing blows up. That another metaphor that's very similar to that is a tenet of a therapeutic theory called Gestalt theory. And the theory is that humans are like a ball that floats on the surface of the water, and that you see the part of the ball that's sticking out of the water, and then the ball starts to float downstream, and you see a little bit more of it, and then it floats downstream. You see another part of the ball, and that it's all the same ball. But we keep parts of ourselves hidden under the water until the right time. And so making sure that you have enough experience with that person floating downstream that you've seen the whole picture. Same thing with your metaphor about the corners of the room.
Absolutely. Oh, and I do hope that you can take this ride with us where the things that, for instance, women my age or in that category that haven't really had a lot of experience in dating successfully.
We've just had relationships. In other words, we haven't done casual dating.
Exactly. That truly dated. That you can walk with us through that, and that we can explore with you the things that are tricky, challenging, or things that just feel uncomfortable about that process, because I'm experiencing it right now. So, and I'm willing to
as a mature woman,
knowing that I might not ever get a date again after this podcast.
Or they might be lining up at your door.
Who knows?
They're going to see how amazing you are, and they're all going to be wanting to date you.
We'll see. But that between Dr. Kyle, Sarah, and myself, with her expertise on really putting out challenges, relevant challenges as we explore topics with you, us being able to laugh at ourselves, because, my God, sometimes we are ridiculous. And I definitely have some stories that I'll continue to share. Then we'll hide the identities, and those will remain nameless.
Anonymous. Everyone's anonymized. The names have been changed to protect the innocent or not so innocent.
Exactly. And that's the essence of this podcast, is really revealing what we're learning in real time.
Yeah.
The wisdom of what we already know.
Yep. And I'm sure we're going to spend plenty of time talking about red flags, things that I see as a therapist that I think people should be aware of, and things that you've seen out there in the dating world that would
red flags that actually are happening to me.
Yes. Exactly. I was thinking when we were talking earlier that one green flag is when someone has solid relationships in their life. We were talking about keeping your activities and keeping your friends around. That a green flag is when you see someone who has longtime connections. They have longtime friends. They have connections within their family. that's not to say that if you've ever had a fight with someone or you're on the outs with someone in your family, that is not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But being able to maintain long-term relationships that are not romantic is a green flag. It shows that someone has the ability to go the distance with other people. I don't know how much you've seen that in your dating life.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that I look for because I have them.
Yeah.
And because my life is very involved with them.
Yes.
And because my relationship with them is intimate, very much on a friendship level.
Mm-hmm.
That
and you need someone who understands that.
I need somebody that understands that. And like you said, that don't either want to get in that with you, and they can't get in that history.
Right.
They can be a part of your life.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to be in that history in the way that you are with your friends.
Right.
And
so you need someone who's secure with that, because if they get intimidated by the fact that you have this long history with people, then that's, probably not going to be a person that's going to work out for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. That is true.
Well, have we exposed ourselves enough now for our audience to know what we're about?
I think if our audience has questions, they can ask if they need any further personal information. But I'm sure things will be revealed as we continue this discussion on future episodes. So let's talk about kind of what we're imagining as the structure for the podcast coming up. I know we've got some topics that people have brought forward, either things that you've experienced in your dating life, things that I've seen in my therapy practice that we think would be helpful for people to hear about. And we've also talked about bringing some guests on that are experts in this area, and maybe even bringing some single folks on that could talk about their own experiences.
Yes, absolutely.
So our first episode that we have after this intro, our topic is U-Haul or hell no. Because it seems like those are the two extremes that women dating women go to. They either write someone off right away, or they, for those of you who are younger and may not get the U-Haul reference, the joke is, what does a lesbian bring on the second date? A U-Haul, because there has been this tendency over time that women just move in together really quickly. And so we're going to talk about what's in the middle of those two things. And
yes,
is there something besides moving in on the second date or writing someone off completely? Is there an exploration where you're actually getting to know each other and figuring that out?
I'm excited about our audience because I think that the younger parts of our audience have not necessarily had as much of the U-Haul experience because they have had more experience openly dating women.
Yes.
Just by the nature of the society and all that.
When we started dating women, that it wasn't necessarily safe to admit that that's what you were doing or to be out.
No, you went to some secret bar under the disco ball with the lady with the big trailer.
That's right.
Riding next to her in the cab with your arm around it. And I think that we met at private parties, and then it really was more like what you would call today a hookup.
Yeah.
So I look forward to the full spectrum of our audience, our young audience, our older audience, sharing with us.
Sharing their experiences.
Yeah, because I think the older audience has a lot to learn from the younger folks who have been doing this for a while, how they do it, the good parts about what they do, and the challenges even related to them trying to communicate well and date multiple women at one time, if that's what you're doing, or just dating someone and not trying to move in with them.
Yes, absolutely. If you, as our audience, have questions for us or things you would like to see us address on the podcast, we would love to hear from you. Our email address is info@getdateable.com. info@getdateable.com. Dateable is the word date and the word able together. Sometimes people forget to put that E in the middle, or they want to spell dateable a different way. So we would love to hear from you. We're super excited about what's coming. And
yes. And so we will be, I do believe we'll be dropping episodes on Thursdays, every Thursday. And so our idea is to maybe bump up close to your weekend as you begin to think about going out on dates.
Hell yeah.
And then we will be a perfect thing for you to listen to while you're getting ready for work. We will be perfect as your drive into work so that you can try to work on getting you sexy on.
Before the weekend.
Before the weekend.
That's right.
Yes. we look forward to you sharing out. Please spread the word if you like what you hear and you're loving the idea of what we're throwing out there. We would love for you to share it around.
Send it to all your friends.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, we hope you find your happy ending. And remember, be bold, be kind, and for the love of queer dating, don't text your ex.
Stay dateable AF.